Hey everybody, it's Ash here on the anerdlife server, playing Feed the Beast. Back again with another episode, and today we're going to be doing bees. Possibly birds as well, birds and the bees. And by that means, I've designated this entire episode to talking to you about sex, and how sex happens, how it works, how babies are made with Play-Doh. That's how it's, no. It would be much easier if babies were just made of Play-Doh. That I don't even know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Anyway, we're actually going to be talking about the bees in the Forestry mod pack, or the Forestry mod bit of the Be the Beast pack. And as you can see, I've got a brand new machine over here. This is the Squeezer. Hello, Squeezer, you son of a bitch. And then we have the existing machine, the Carpenter. And you're going to need both of these machines for the bee process, the beekeeping process. The reason you're going to need those machines is because you are going to need something called an impregnated casing. And it's not a casing that is having a child. It is just something called an impregnated casing. It is made like this. You take your Carpenter, you empty the water out using pipettes. That's the only way I know how to do it. I'm sure you could use like something else, but pipettes seem to be the only way I could figure out. You take pipettes, you right click on this little thing with the pipette, and it will empty a bucket's worth of water out. You will then have to either empty the pipette into another reservoir somewhere else, or get another pipette. They're pretty easy to make. They're only glass panes, like 2 glass panes and a cotton piece, and that's how you make it. But yeah, then you make sure this is empty, and then you can start filling it with seed oil. Now it's also probably pretty easy just to make yourself another Carpenter that is designated for water and designated for seed oil, but that's beside the point. We just needed to get this done. Now then you take any kind of wood, as long as it's not as long as it's actual log and not the planks. You put it in a square, and then you fill this with the wood that you need. This is what it's going to be pulling from. This is just the pattern. As you can see, I've made one already. I've made several actually. Put that down there just for safekeeping. So we don't need it yet. We don't need it yet. We may actually need it. We don't really need it, but we can actually just go ahead and use it just to show you how to do it. Now, here's how you do it, okay? You take your impregnated casing and you put it in the middle. Then you pop some wood around the edges. Then you take 3 slabs of wood and put it like that. And then you have yourself an apiary. This process is tedious. This thing, if not powered enough, it will be super slow, like any other machine. You turn that off, you turn this back on, because I like to have as much of this as it can have. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to put these empty cans in there, and the cans are really easy to make. It's just 3 pieces of tin, and I can show you that actually. Lava can, seed oil can. Where's the empty fucking can? There it is. Okay. Just tin in a tent shape. Pretty easy. That will fill up with seed oil. When it gets to... Don't panic if you have seed oil in here and it isn't filling a can up. It won't fill a can up until about the 2nd March. Maybe a little bit of... March? What is... Mark. Fuck, I have no idea. Okay. Mark. I think it's between the 1st and 2nd mark, maybe at the 2nd mark. That's when the can will finally fill up. Just give it time, be patient with it. Try to give it as much power as possible, otherwise it's going to be super fucking slow. In the meantime, we have an apiary. We're going to need another one anyway. I'll actually show you this, because we actually have a swamp apiary set up. We have a bee over there. We should go check on that, actually. Actually, there may be a snowy biome over by the swamp as well. So we may not even have to go to the other snow area that I found. Okay, so we're going to head over here. Do we have any wood? Because I've been thinking we should build a path that's easier to get across, because traveling across a swamp is just tedious as crap. Okay, so we'll do this. That'll actually work. Now, the thing about the swamp, they're called marshy bees. They're gonna have if you find one in the swamp, you'll likely get a marshy drone and a marshy princess. Then you will use the two of those in an apiary to breed it into a marshy queen. The problem with the marshy bees is that unlike most of the other bees who are cool with just standard flowers and things that are easy to come by, these bastards prefer to have mushrooms. Now, I guess I should explain this system to people who don't have any idea what the hell I'm talking about. Now, what you're going to have to do is you're going to put your apiary in the biome that the bees come from. If they aren't in the correct biome, then they will tell you to fuck off. So if your bees are marshy bees, you put them in the swampy biome because that's where you got them. Over here, I have my apiary. It's really fairly close. I was going to build it right there because actually the edge of the swamp biome stops there. And as you see where that tree is, if some mushrooms happen to pop up under that, that's all good. The problem was I didn't know that the mushrooms were key. You have to figure out which flower or type of shrub or whatever the case is that these bees enjoy. And that is also based usually on what type of bee they are. These bees are from the swamp, so they need mushrooms, even though that doesn't make any sense, and I'm pretty sure bees can't spread mushroom growth. I know that some mushrooms use spores, but I don't think bees can carry spores, or they're not alive in the same area as the mushrooms. I don't know. I don't know real things, because I spend too much time. Okay, as you can see, it's been producing some stuff here. It's been producing some stuff. There is no queen anymore, however, which is interesting. Oh, there's the marshy princess. So this is actually going to be perfect. Now, I had a marshy queen up here. She produced us 1 honeycomb and 2 drones and a princess here. Unfortunately, they don't stack. Now, what we're going to have to do is take this princess and take one of our drones and breed them together. This is the emitter that tells you how far along that is, which I can only assume is called a sexometer, because that is essentially what it is measuring. Okay, so now we have our queen again. The queen obviously has a lifespan. This thing will start going down as you use the queen, and when it's empty, I guess it then despawns. Once you put the apiary down and pop your queen in there, look over here, and it will, if you don't have the right flowers or grasses or whatever the case is, another box will pop up here with an X through it, and it'll say that the bees can't find the right flowers. As you can see, there's bees just like shooting out there like fucking Top Gun, and they're looking for the right flowers. And because we have some mushrooms next to it, they're all good. Another side effect of this thing is that eventually some more mushrooms might start popping up around it, or in the case of other ones that use flowers will start popping up around it, which is cool because then I guess you don't have to worry about it. And the other key to an apiary is the block above it needs to have light going down to it. It doesn't work at night, and it doesn't work during the rain. Now, there are some bees, some hardcore bees that can work at night, and there's some hardcore bees that can work in the rain. But these bees, and I think all the starter bees maybe, because you can breed the bees together and have like mixed breed bees that are special and shit, which I may explain in another episode. But this is the key right here. So if you have a swamp thing going on, you need to get some mushrooms, which means you're probably going to have to dig out a hole above it and make sure light is shining down on the top of your apiary for it to function correctly. So that's pretty much it. Once you have the apiary, it will produce you some combs, which is your end result that you're looking for. You want the honeycombs. That's the whole point of it. And you use those to make yourself things like beeswax. More importantly, you make honey with it, obviously. The honey can then be made into various other things. What you're going to need after that to do stuff with said honey is you're going to want to use it. Now, you're going to get combs. So how do you make the combs into honey? Well, you take your combs, you put them in a machine called a centrifuge. Now you're thinking, well, I probably have an industrial centrifuge. Well, that isn't the right one. That one is for IC2, I believe. This one is the centrifuge made for forestry. It's easy to tell the difference because all the forestry machines look pretty much exactly like these. So if I type in centrifuge, you can see that another machine that looks just like the other ones is a centrifuge, and that's the one you're going to need. So we can actually easily make that because all the forestry mods by default aren't attached to the Greg's Tech mod. So they're all really easy to make. Now I think you can turn them on in Greg's Tech settings, but I'm playing Be the Beast by the default settings that come straight from the mod pack. So if they want to change that later, then go ahead. If you guys want to change it to Greg's Tech to make the game harder, go ahead. Some of the machines are going to be on, some of them aren't going to be on in Greg's Tech by default though. And that sort of stuff, I believe, is set by the people who are doing the Feed the Beast, so I can only assume they'd pay attention to the sort of like the progression of the machines and whether or not having one machine be hard to make is necessary, etc. That said, it also would ruin sort of like me trying to teach you guys if I had Greg's Tech and you guys have normal and so forth. If you guys have Greg's Tech on, then you probably know more about the game than I do anyway, so you're probably well off. Either way, you will use the centrifuge to make honey. Now, if you go to honey up here and you hit R, it will show you the centrifuge with the honeycomb in it, and it will show you that no matter which honeycomb basically you use, it will yield a drop of honey. It will also yield something else. So if you have a default honeycomb, which I think comes from the standard plains biome bees, it will create beeswax, which is fairly useless to be honest. But also things will start creating other byproducts as well as the honey that is involved. So here we have a frozen one. It'll create crystalline pollen, beeswax, and a snowball as well as the honey. This one is a dripping comb, which will create honeydew. I'm not sure what that makes. Maybe it'll make a little dwarf with red hair. Huh? Get it? Anyway. Oh, that looks delicious. Looks delicious. Actually, glycerin kind of sounds like disgusting, but that looks delicious. Ambrosia? Oh, that's what I am talking about. Anyway, you can see that the byproducts, you get basically honey drop plus one or two other items which are pretty important. If you want to make silk, for instance, you'll need a silky comb to then make silky propolis, which will then be able to put in the centrifuge to make a silk wisp, and then you need like a whole crafting bench worth of silk wisps to make one thing of silk, and so forth. What we are going to use it for, actually, though, is the stamps, because that's how I think we've discussed this. You need honey to make the stamps. So as you have the 4 stamps here, each one uses honey, paper, and an item. So for instance, this one uses apatite with paper and honey. This one uses copper with paper and honey. This one uses tin with paper and honey. I think it's all tin. Yeah, it's tin. This one uses a gold block with paper and honey. So you need honey. That's the whole reason we wanted to do it on this episode so soon, because we need honey to support our mailing system here on the NerdLife server. Now, that said, I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions about the forestry mod bees system, please feel free to leave a comment below and ask me, because I think I covered most of the things. All the forestry mod stuff is easy to make as far as recipes and how much stuff you're going to have to use on them. They're all pretty standard stuff. The keys, I mean, it's going to take you a minute to get your squeezer going, get your carpenter going with seed oil and so forth, but past that, it's all pretty standard. You're going to want to just put your apiary in the biome that it needs to be in based on what bees you want to put in it. For instance, if I want to put the wintry, now if I want to do wintry ones, I'm going to have to go to the wintry biome, place an apiary there, then put the flowers next to it that it likes. I think a wintry, if you're going to do wintry, you would just want to put like some grass around it from the winter biome, and then like some standard red and yellow flowers or whatever. I'm not sure. I mean, it's stuff, different things. The jungle, for instance, it likes vines and ferns and shit. So just use your common sense on that sort of stuff. But if you can't figure it out, please feel free to ask me a question on the comments or on Twitter, and I'll try to answer your questions as best as I can. And until next time, this has been Ash teaching you about the birds and the bees here on NerdLife server. Again, with another episode of Feed the Beast. And until next time, good luck.